again, another thing to note here as we get into the OTAs kicking off, it came out that they've opened up contract extension talks. Like his agent has been in contact with the Steelers. I just, again, like I think I've brought this up before, and it's so weird to say about a guy that's only been on the team for like 3 seasons. It's hard for me to envision him like being anywhere else. Like I think that he's going to take less than he could get on the open market to stay a Steeler and stay playing on the other side of TJ, because I just feel like he has so much like wherewithal for his situation. He understands that the grass isn't going to be greener. He's very comfortable here, and yeah, like I think that he's gonna get paid pretty well. I think he'll get around 15 million a season, but if he hits the open market, he's getting 18 to 20, and I just don't see that happening in Pittsburgh. I think he knows it's not happening in Pittsburgh, and I don't think that needs to happen for him to re-sign here. I think he's totally okay with getting a number closer to what I was talking about.
I think so too. And like you said, if he leaves Pittsburgh, there's no guarantee. I mean, it depends on the team, but it's assuming he leaves for the money. He's going to be going and being the outside linebacker 1 on a team. And when he does that, he's going to be targeted. It's not going to be the same thing as whenever you have DJ Watt on the other side of you. So I think that would be smart to stay in Pittsburgh, and he's definitely going to consider that. I said, and it was actually during the live show that you and Derek were doing, when we were talking about Highsmith, my sweet spot for him getting a really modest raise, but also being able to stay in Pittsburgh and not being priced out, was actually 18 million a season. I said, yeah, 3 by 54 is what I would do. And I think that would be a good deal for him, where he does get the value that I think he deserves, because I feel like a lot of people that don't really look into the situation of like outside linebackers or edge rushers in the NFL and what contracts go for. Alex Highsmith, especially if he has a really productive season this year, building off of what he did last year, he will price himself out of Pittsburgh unless he wants to stay that badly. I mean, this is a really premium position, and teams are going to pay for it if you are productive. And he was on the right track last year, continues this year. That's why I think it's very smart for the Steelers to get this locked up now, because one, and this is selfish from the Pittsburgh mentality, but they kind of have to look at it this way. We can't afford to have you have another good season and then talk contract with you. So they have to get it out of the way now. Also, who was it that tweeted the extension or the extension talks, and it was Chris Wormley, the picture
that was
and it
Dov.
Just had a little Dov Kleiman. It just had a little.
I don't even know if that's a real person, by the way. Like I don't know.
I'm
still
he changed his Avi, I think, for the first time ever.
I'm blocked.
Are you?
He has me blocked because I said I'm not sure if Dov Kleiman is a real person. He searches his name, so he blocked me.
Oh well,
I didn't tag him or anything.
He tweeted a picture of Chris Wormley. A great form tackle, by the way. Yeah.
It's just like this much.
It's just
Alex
a little sliver of Alex Highsmith. It's like actually, he's there. And Alan Saunders said it was like the Where's Waldo of like announcements. It's like you gotta find him.
I saw Dougie Fresh reply to that and say something like Alex looks great in this picture or something like that, and he like cropped just the portion that he was in.
It's just like his left shoulder or something like that. It's so funny. But another thing that about Alex Highsmith that would be weird though if he did leave Pittsburgh is like, so we were saying how we can't imagine him being in another organization. I can't imagine Sam Highsmith, his dad, being a fan of any other team.
True.
He's ingrained into Pittsburgh Steelers Nation's culture already. And so I just can't imagine him flipping sides. I mean, even if his son leaves, I gotta wonder, is he still going to be a Steelers fan?
Listen, once a Steeler, always a Steeler. I'm sure that he will definitely. He's obviously like his number one team is going to be wherever Alex is playing. He's gonna be rooting for the Steelers when they're not playing Alex's team, 100%.
Yeah. It's hard for me to see it any other way.
Yeah. I want to bring up another thing with Alex because, like, I understand the position that some people have where it's like, can you really pay 2 edge rushers? And, you can find a guy to give you some production. Obviously not what Alex has given them on the other side of TJ, because that's been even greater than what they've gotten from Bud on the other side. But what I say to that is I'm not looking. I think you can look at it like the defensive front as a whole. And right now you're paying 2 guys pretty good money in TJ and Cam. but Cam's contract ends not this upcoming season, but after the following one. And you can kind of structure Alex's deal where you're not paying him like significant money until that point anyway. So I think you can kind of set it up where you're still just paying 2 high-end contracts along that defensive line, but instead of TJ and Cam, it ends up being TJ and Alex down the road.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And look at the rest of the defense. I mean, you've got Minka who's getting paid, but outside of those like big 3, there's not a lot of money going out on the defense. Your corners aren't making a lot of money. Your middle linebackers aren't making a lot of money. And there's a lot of young people that they could get paid eventually. Like Joey Porter Jr. could be paid eventually.
Yeah,
but he's a rookie this year. So you're in a position where if you're going to pay 2 edge rushers, and especially that amount of money, you're in the situation where you can do it easily and not really hurt yourself too much. Because you have the luxury of having some young contracts on the defense, and plus there's just not a lot of people to pay that are worth getting extensions like that.
Yeah, there's some like middle ground contract, like Ogunjobi's deal, I think is somewhat, Cole Holcomb for a middle linebacker. He's making okay money. But yeah, I mean,
but they're not like TJ. They're not like Minka. Like we're not talking about like huge lucrative contracts.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I think that again, I just keep going back to the point where I don't look at it as like 2 edge rushers. I'm looking at it as, 2 premium defensive players that you're paying, and they both play in the defensive front. So just, exit Cam, insert Alex's contract. So I brought that up to Derek on his live stream that he did last Friday. And yeah, that it actually entered my mind as we were talking about it. Like that wasn't a preconceived idea in my head. I was just thinking about it. But yeah, let's talk a little.
I was just going to say it makes sense because I think you should look at it from not just who or what positions you're playing, but like who brings you the most value on defense.
Yeah.
And positionally, Alex brings you.
Yeah, I'm not going to say I would absolutely not say that he's more valuable than TJ. Don't get me wrong, but what I'm saying is look at where they rush from. And Alex is rushing the left tackle, which for most teams is the stronger side. They play their better tackle on the left side, and that's the quarterback's blind spot. So, I think that at the very least, I'm not saying he's more valuable than TJ, but he's, probably the second most valuable spot on the defense at the very least. So, I mean, again, I have no qualms about paying him. People will bring up, the production without TJ. 3.5 sacks or something in 7 games. By the way,
look at the entire defense's production without TJ.
Well, I was to say that's still 8 for a season, like at that pace. Like it's not like that's just some.
It's not a scrub.
Yeah. So in the opposite of say it wasn't TJ, right? Say it's also not going to be Malik Reed. Like you're going to have somewhere in the middle of that on the opposite side of Alex, somewhere else. So I think he's a double-digit sack guy for sure. And the thing is like he's still not there yet. Like he still is pretty much just a speed rusher. Like if he really, really comes into his own and develops a little bit more, he had 14.5 last year. I mean, he could easily eclipse, 16 in next season. So I'm interested to see how this thing plays out. By all accounts, it sounds like, he's optimistic about an extension. It sounds like the other side is optimistic. Like Omar Khan very early in the offseason said, this is a priority for us. And look at everything that's happened since then. Now, I'm not saying that got put on the back burner. He was lying about it being a priority. It's just this time of year is typically when that starts to happen. A contract extension talk anyway for a guy going into this season. So I'm interested to see how it plays out. Prediction, I do think it gets done. So I'll be very happy when that's done and we can stop talking. Also, we're going to know, like, by the way, like last year we saw like when Deontay's agent was in camp 2 days later, he signed a new deal.
Yeah.
We're going to know when Alex's agent is there. And then all of a sudden you're going to see within the next like 48 hours, probably a deal get done.
Yeah. And maybe Alex can make his 3rd appearance on Around the 4 and 2 after the deal gets done.
That would be awesome.